We're talking about the X-E3. I think this is the best Fuji camera that very few people are talking about. This is a good in-between, I think. It's not too simplistic, and it's not too pro. Welcome back, my loyal subscribers. I'm back with another video, camera related, like promised. In my previous two, I went over my adventure looking and testing for new cameras, something portable that doesn't take too much space in my bag, but not so portable where I'm sacrificing image quality, more like portable in terms of size and carrying around compared to like taking full-on wedding lenses and cameras, equipment type of thing, you know what I mean? So, in my last two videos, I reviewed a Fuji X100S, which I'll link up here. And I also reviewed a Lumix bridge camera, FZ2500, up here. And I'm still looking. So, those two did not convince me, or did not fulfill the need that I'm looking for. So I'm on to the next one, and that's what this video is about. We're talking about the X-E3. I think this is the best Fuji camera that very few people are talking about. So you'll know, you're all hearing about the X-T3, the X-T2, the X-T10, X-T20, X-T30, all these XTs. There's so many Fuji cameras coming out all the time that we lose track. We don't even know which XT we're on, which series is which. I had to actually look up the full Fuji lineup and understand which lines are coming from where and what the differences are, because there's definitely the more consumer, the prosumer, and the pros, X Pro. So among that chaos and mess, not to say that these cameras are bad, options are nice, I came about the X-E3, and I feel like this camera was priced slightly lower than these other popular X-T2s and 3s and the X Pros, which is slightly more expensive because of the build and certain details. But I found the X-T3 to be a good compromise between the image quality that Fuji's known for, decent build of the camera body itself, and just getting access to all those Fuji lenses that everyone's talking about, you know? So, found this buddy right here. This is my new friend. This is the X-E3. And so, what makes this special to me, and so far, my review is very positive, I'll tell you right up front. In comparing this to the X100, which is like the point and shoot for prosumers, I'm liking this a lot better because it has the same size. I had them side by side. I have the other one right there. I have to return it. But side by side, they look pretty much the same. So let's talk about the differences between this one and the X100 series and the higher level Pro of the Fuji line. We've got the camera here. You can pretty much tell. So first thing I want to point out, you'll notice right away it's a rangefinder design. This is not bad. I actually like the rangefinder. When you compare this to the X100 or another series, you're going to notice it doesn't have that faux prism bump with a EVF in the middle, or the optical viewfinder that the X Pro and the X100 have. Those are parrots, by the way. This one has the EVF on the back. So it reminds me a lot of the A6000 series. I mean, it's a rangefinder, so it's the same style. It's a rangefinder camera. 1/4000th of a second is the max. Very similar to the other one I was reviewing. Very minimalistic overlay compared to the other Fujis that have tons of buttons on top. And that's for a very good reason. And that reason being that this is a touchscreen. And I love touchscreens. They make things easier. It's not a must-have, but it makes your life easier. You've got swiping commands. It's pretty neat that they implemented this on this minimalist camera. So I see this as the Mini X Pro, but I see this as a side to side with the X100 series with the plus that you can switch lenses. And that's a big one for me. So what else can I tell you just from the design and the look of this? It's pretty light. When I got this camera without the lens, this thing is super light. I would say that this thing is way lighter than the X100 series. For some reason, I mean, I'm sure that the X100 has more metal build in it. This one's a lot more plastic. It's not weather sealed. There are trade-offs. However, same functionality, I'd say, with the touchscreen, 24 megapixel. This is the X-Trans 3 sensor. We're talking about this is the same sensor as the XT3, XT2. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not the latest. It's the one before the latest generation. We're on X4, on the X-Trans 4 sensor. So the 3 is not that old. It's only 2 years old, around there. So you're not missing out on the quality. You're getting all these awesome film simulations included, which some of them were missing in my older X100 that I tested. You're getting the same functionality, very minimalistic, but you know what, the more I have this camera, the more I notice why people call the Fuji the poor man's Leica. There's a lot of things in usage that is just reminiscent of enjoying the process of photography, if that makes any sense, but also the design of lenses, the feel of the camera itself, the minimalism. However, I wouldn't reduce the Fuji down to a poor man's Leica. I would just say Fuji is its own thing. In their own right, they've earned it, and I think their image quality is excellent. So let's talk about other stuff. So obviously, I'm really enjoying this camera. The next thing I want to talk about is the lens. The reason to get an X100 is if you don't want to deal with lenses. Obviously, that's like the street photographer's dream, a 35mm equivalent. Once I went this route, I could have gotten that lens, but instead, I wanted to try this very popular 18-55. And I'll make a separate review just talking about this awesome lens. It's pretty small. It's an f2.8 to 4. I wouldn't consider this a kit lens. It's just like a smaller version of a 24 to 105. This is pretty much a 28 to 80 something. So I would put it in that range. It's not a kit lens, but it's like a step above that. So overall, just to make this short, X-E3, I think it's a very good alternative to an X100 XT3. If you're looking for an extra camera just to carry with you and take everywhere, that's pretty light and portable, and you're not sacrificing on the quality, because this is an aps-c sensor. Oh, I forgot to mention, look, you've got the little focus modes control in the front, just like the X100. There's a lot to love from this camera, and I would love to have an X Pro, but I don't know. I feel like this is good enough, and I don't think lots of people are paying attention to this line of Fuji. Everyone's taken away by the X100, the 200, the XT10s and the 30s, the XT3s, which are a bit more pro, of course, but this is a good in-between, I think. It's not too simplistic, and it's not too pro. Like one card slot, not weather sealed, like those features, but you're getting the same sensor, color, and access to the lenses, which is the most important. I'm finding that this 18-55 is really good, and comparing it to the primes, which are already awesome, this 18-55 holds its own against the primes, and I'm really impressed with that. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop talking. I'll show you some pictures that I've taken so far. I'm definitely gonna revisit this because so far I'm really impressed, and it merits a second video to go into the functionality of this X-E3. And I'll also talk about the lens, so that'll be the next video. X-E3 part 2, plus conversation on this lens. And then I might add another lens. We'll see. But for now, 18 to 55, I want to really dive into what I can do with this without having to buy a prime yet. Just to show having decent glass and flexibility that this lens gives you, you can already do a lot. So I want to see how far I can get and comfortable before I go for a prime, which I've been debating. Because I know that new 35 f2 came out, which is the same optical formula as the weather sealed version, but for half the price. And I think since I got this camera not for anything professional where I'm not going to shoot in the rain with it or a wedding with it. It's more like a backup and for fun, an everyday camera. I might do something here and there, like a portrait shoot, just to try it out, but I'm not demanding a lot from it, is what I'm trying to say. Not like my Sonys that I need to have full frame glass and all that thing, the best of the best, to ensure quality and consistency. I think I'm going to get a lot out of this system, and I'm enjoying already just the feel of it. It's pretty amazing. So I highly recommend it. Check out these pictures, and we'll talk more again about the lens. Thank you.